In the beginning of time, Zeus, the supreme god of Olympus, consolidated himself as the supreme lord of the universe. But before he had the goddess Hera as his queen, Zeus had had another wife. There was a goddess as beautiful as she was wise. Her name was Metis. She was the daughter of the Titan Ocean, who helped Zeus free his brothers from Cronus' stomach during the Titanomachy. Zeus was fascinated by the precious deity and wanted to take her as his wife, but the goddess resisted the god's approaches. Metis tried to escape from the god in every way, but Zeus was persistent. The goddess had the power of metamorphosis and could transform herself into anything. She used this power to escape Zeus. But Metis could not escape Zeus forever. The god set an ambush for the disguised goddess. The Lord of Thunder jumped on Metis and grabbed her. The goddess could not escape the god's strong arms and submitted to his will. With the cunning goddess at his side, Zeus's reign seemed more prosperous. The god seemed able to tame all the chaos that had reigned in the world since primordial times. However, on a visit to Gaia, the primordial goddess who personifies the earth revealed a terrible omen. Gaia told Zeus that his wife would have 2 children. The first would be a girl who would equal the strength and wisdom of her father. But the second would be a boy who would become stronger than his father and take away his power. Zeus feared having the same outcome as his father, the Titan Cronus, or his grandfather, the god Uranus. Both had been dethroned by their sons. But, inspired by his father, Zeus devised a plan to prevent the omen from coming true. Zeus asked Metis to transform herself into a drop of water so she could give him a taste of her metamorphic power. The god swallowed his wife so that she could not give birth to the being that would dethrone Zeus. After swallowing his wife, Zeus incorporated the gifts of the goddess Metis. He became a much wiser, fairer, and less impulsive god. But he didn't know that she was already pregnant. Time passed, and the powerful god began to feel headaches. He felt a horrible pain. His head seemed about to explode. Zeus asked for his head to be opened and the source of the pain to be removed. He couldn't withstand such pain. The Titan Prometheus struck the god on the head with an axe. A strong light began to emerge from the open crack in Zeus's head. A female figure surfaced on Zeus's head. From Zeus's forehead emerged the goddess Athena, with her armor and weapons fully grown. Zeus was proud to give birth to that formidable creature. With her mother's intelligence, Athena would become the goddess of wisdom. She was also considered the goddess of defensive warfare. Therefore, confrontations against Ares, the god of war, would be inevitable. Metis remained in Zeus's stomach, and the prophecy of the couple's second child was never fulfilled. Athena proved to be a brave, pure, just, and wise goddess. She was considered the favorite daughter of Zeus, and was thought by many to be Zeus's legitimate successor. In ancient Greece, there was a region that is now known as Attica. There, Cecrops reigned, a being who was born of his own land, and had a serpent's tail and a man's trunk. Under his rule, the city of Cecrops flourished. This city was surrounded by the seas. Fishing was essential in this society, as much of the people's food was taken from the sea. Due to its dependence on the sea, the cult of Poseidon was strong in the region. The god of the seas wanted a city that would glorify him, and for this reason, he went to Cecropia. People of Cecropia, consecrate this city to the Lord of the Seas, and you will have the ocean as your backyard. Your people will overtake all others while you are on the seas. Change the name of the city to Poseidonia, and you will receive my blessings. The god hit the ground with his trident, and a fountain of salt water began to gush forth. "This is my gift to you. Before you leave for the sea, kneel before the fountain, and it will tell you if it is safe to sail." Suddenly, a strong flash interrupted Poseidon. In the middle of the light, there was the silhouette of a female figure. It was Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategic warfare. The goddess also wanted to be the patroness of the city. The goddess addressed the crowd, who were already surprised by Poseidon's visit, and who now felt perplexed before such a majestic deity. "Citizens of Attica, if you choose me as the protector of the city, beauty and wisdom will bear fruit in that city. The arts and sciences will develop like nowhere else in the world." The goddess struck her spear to the ground, and a beautiful olive tree was born in the hole. "This is my gift. I know how arid the earth is around you, but the fruits of this plant may be your food. Besides, you can use its oil to ward off the darkness and warm your homes." The people were amazed at the gift. Cecrops, fearing to infuriate the eventually overlooked god, thought that the population of the city should decide what god to honor. The men lived from the sea, and all of them voted for Poseidon. The women, on the other hand, who lived from the land, thought that the gifts of Athena were superior. Since there were more women than men in the city, Athena won. Poseidon was furious and did not accept the decision of the crowd. "There is only one honorable way to decide. Grab your weapons and fight me." Poseidon was one of the most powerful gods. He believed Athena was no match for him. But the brave goddess had no fear and prepared for the clash. The battle between the gods began, and they measured forces. The dispute was interrupted by a bolt of Zeus. "This dispute will be discussed at the Council of the Gods of Olympus, where the fate of the city will be decided." On Mount Olympus, the gods met to settle the dispute between Athena and Poseidon. Zeus was the head of the meeting and allowed the other gods to decide on the subject. All the male gods voted for Poseidon, and all the goddesses voted for Athena. As chairman of the board, Zeus abstained, and Athena was the winner by only one vote of difference. And so the ancient city of Cecropia came to be known as Athens. In honor of the goddess, a beautiful temple was built on top of the Acropolis in her honor. However, Poseidon's fury made life difficult for the Athenians. They were no longer welcome at sea. The concerned population went to the Oracle of Delphi. The Pythia told them that Poseidon's fury would only be diminished if Athena's women were punished. To reconcile with the god, all the Athenian women lost the right to vote. To seal the peace between Athena and Poseidon, a beautiful temple was built in honor of the god at Cape Sunion. The god was magnanimous and forgave the people of Athena, allowing the city to keep the gift given by the god. Thus, in Greece, a city emerged that would stand out from the rest. It took thousands of years for Athenian women to recover their right to vote. In an ancient Greek city located in the region of Lydia, there was a child who loved to play with the wool threads she found in her father's dyeing shop. Her name was Arachne. Her skills in the arts of weaving and embroidery developed remarkably as she grew. Arachne started to be known as a great artist. Nobles from all over the region ordered her treasured works. Arachne's reputation kept growing. Many visited Arachne's workshop just to see her work. Even the nymphs left their hiding places to contemplate the works of art of the young weaver.
This young woman has such a stunning ability. This can only be a gift from Athena, the weaver's patroness. A gift from Athena? How can you attribute all my work's merit to a goddess who never showed up around here?
But you must be grateful to Athena. She is the patroness of the weavers.
What you attribute as divine talent was not given to me by the gods. I acquired it after several years of study, work, and dedication.
The goddess Athena was informed that a young woman claimed to be the greatest weaver ever. surpassing Athena herself.
These impetuous youngsters always considered themselves to be invincible, never assessing the consequences of their actions. But, luckily for her, today I'm in a good mood.
Athena took the form of an old lady and visited Arachne's shop. Athena acknowledged that the girl's work was incredible indeed. She wanted to guide her in the right direction before the gods.
Little girl, indeed you were born with such a remarkable talent, but due to your youth, I believe it is not wise to want to compare yourself to the gods. Those who have granted you everything and can take it all away as well.
I owe Athena nothing. I'm almost sure that my works are more beautiful than hers. If she were that good, she would have the courage to accept my challenge.
You senseless girl! How dare you challenge the gods?
Athena revealed her identity, and the nymphs bowed to the goddess. But the daring weaver faced her standing with an inflexible stare.
Do you really think you can compare yourself to Zeus's daughter and the patroness of weavers?
Athena and Arachne began an unlikely clash, where a youngster who was little more than a little girl challenged one of the most renowned deities. The girl and the goddess spared no efforts to do the best they could. Athena wove a scene depicting her glorious victory over Poseidon in the race for Athens. Indeed, it was truly an impressive piece. When Athena saw Arachne's work, she was amazed. It was magnificent.
While you gods promote yourselves by showing off your achievements, I prefer to show off the other side of the great deities.
Arachne produced a work in which Zeus disguised himself as a bull to deceive the poor Princess Europa. Athena was enraged and tore Arachne's work, but the biggest reason for her anger was not because of the offense against the gods, but because Arachne's work was just perfect and unblemished.
You mortals are all the same. Whenever you are given exceptional talents, you are consumed by pride, arrogance, and vanity, thinking you are on the same level as the gods.
The goddess punished Arachne, and the young woman was turned into a hideous, 8-legged creature. But the goddess didn't expect that, by being 8-legged, she would start weaving even better. And when the goddess saw the last of the weaver's work, she said,
Damn her! She really is good.
Hephaestus, god of forges, had berated his wife Aphrodite after catching her red-handed having an extramarital affair with Ares, the god of war. The god took a long time to recover from such a humiliation. To alleviate his pain, he began to focus exclusively on work. At this time, the Trojan War had broken out, and Athena, goddess of strategic warfare, went to Hephaestus's forge with an order for new weapons and armor. Hephaestus was a magnificent blacksmith, and Athena enjoyed visiting his workshop to watch the making of the weapons that were true works of art. The god of the forges enjoyed the visits of the beautiful and haughty goddess of wisdom, who illuminated Hephaestus's forge with her splendor and lessened the loneliness of the blacksmith deity. Poseidon, god of the seas and Athena's rival, seeing the friendship between the gods, decided to stir up an argument between them. The sea god poked Hephaestus, saying that Athena had an interest in a love affair with the god of the forges. But Athena had no intention of having an affair with anyone, for she had taken a vow of chastity and wished to remain pure for all eternity. Upon hearing this false account, Hephaestus was thrilled. After all, one of the most beautiful goddesses of Olympus wanted to be with him. When the goddess decided to pay another visit, Hephaestus, consumed by lust, tried to seduce her, but Athena rejected him. However, the god was beset by desire and tried to conquer her through force, The god grabbed the virgin goddess, but the deity of war pushed him away. However, Hephaestus had already poured out his divine seed. The goddess disgustingly shoved the god of forges back, throwing him to the ground. Hephaestus's divine seed fell to the earth and was taken up by Gaia, who subsequently gave birth to the fruit of this mishap. The baby's name was Erichthonius, a strange creature with the trunk of a man and the tail of a serpent. Athena adopted Erichthonius as her own son, but the baby was not yet ready to live in the mortal world. So, Athena put him in a basket and gave the child to the princess of Athens, a city consecrated to the goddess after her feud with Poseidon. The goddess told them that they could never peek into the contents of the box, but the princess's curiosity was greater than their caution. They opened the box and found the creature. They became mad and threw themselves from the top of Athens' Acropolis. Athens returned for her son and raised him in the temple dedicated to the goddess. Under the guardianship of the deity of wisdom, Erichthonius became a wise and diligent adult. He was one of the legendary kings of Athens, with a prosperous regency. During his reign, the Greeks learned how to deal with money. Accordingly, the son of Athena went down in history as one of the best rulers of Attica.
Somewhere in Greece, a cursed creature remained hidden. Among all the monsters who inhabited the nightmares of the Hellenic, this was surely one of the most feared. Many brave heroes dared to hunt this creature, but none ever returned. They said that this being was so hideous that no one could face it. Her name was Medusa. But Medusa was not always like that. She once had been one of the most beautiful women ever to walk the earth. She was born of the union of two primordial sea deities, Phorcys and Ceto, and she came into the world as a normal child. Medusa had two sisters, Stheno and Uriel. They were Gorgons, creatures that combined women and serpent traits. Since childhood, Medusa was devoted to the goddess Athena, and when playing with her sisters, she always pretended to be the goddess Athena, while her sisters loved to be the villains. Together with the girls, she also played with a boy called Iphicles, who was Medusa's best friend. The two were inseparable. Medusa grew and became more beautiful every day. Medusa's charms made the young Iphicles an easy target for Eros, the god of love. In love, Iphicles declared his affection for Medusa. The young lady deeply loved the boy, but she had the dream of becoming a priestess of Athena and could not cave into the temptation of love. When she reached the appropriate age, the young woman started her preparation to become an Athena priestess. The temple's apprentices needed to have pristine conduct and discipline. All their acts could be reflected in the goddess's reputation. One of the major requirements for becoming a priestess of Athena was absolute purity. They were to mirror themselves in Athena. Therefore, the young women should remain virgins, just like their goddess, who never surrendered to the influence of Eros and Aphrodite. Medusa became a perfect priestess, maybe even too perfect. The rituals conducted by Medusa kept attracting more followers, delighted with the way in which that beautiful young woman conducted each of her activities. Medusa had beautiful fluttering hair. With her movements, it mesmerized those who stared at her. A gullible man dared to say that Medusa's hair was more beautiful than Athena's. The goddess, from the top of Mount Olympus, noticed a commotion in one of her temples. She realized that many were not there to worship her, but rather to see the charming priestess. Athena resisted the temptation to do anything against those who shifted their focus from her to Medusa. The goddess knew that, although this was wrong, the young priestess was not to blame. After all, she was only doing her work in the best way she could. Meanwhile, at Mount Olympus, Poseidon noticed the goddess's restlessness. The sea god and Athena had a major rivalry. They disputed the right to be the city's patron god, which was the capital of the Attica region. The goddess was the winner of this dispute, and in honor of her new protective goddess, the city changed its name to Athens. Poseidon did not accept defeat well, so he was waiting for the right moment to take revenge on the goddess. The god noticed that Athena was focused on her most beautiful and gracious priestess. He decided that this beautiful young woman could be an instrument of his revenge. Poseidon plotted to tarnish Athena's reputation, striking her most unblemished follower. In the meantime, Medusa kept carrying her normal life, unaware that she was being watched by the Olympic gods. Medusa walked by the sea, and lurking, concealed among the waves, the god of the seas followed her. She heard someone say her name. The call came from the ocean. Poseidon emerged from the sea in all his paramount glory. The god used his charm to seduce Athena's priestess, but Medusa, albeit stunned by all his splendor, did not forget her vows and rejected Poseidon's advance. He did not accept the rejection and grabbed Medusa's arm. She reacted unexpectedly and, violently hitting him in the face, managed to get rid of the god. Medusa ran to Athena's temple, the only place where she felt safe. But Poseidon, consumed by lust, went after the young woman. Poseidon was almost reaching her when the brave Iphicles stood between the god and Medusa. Despite his bravery, Iphicles represented no obstacle to the god who, with one blow, threw the young man away. Medusa stepped inside the temple of her goddess and knelt before her statue. She asked for protection when she heard the god of the sea's heavy footsteps approaching. The god approached the encircled young woman who cried out for help. Poseidon possessed her on the goddess altar by force. The god happily left the temple. His revenge had gone better than planned. Besides having corrupted the best priestess of Athena, he also degraded her beloved temple, which the goddess deeply treasured for its purity. Medusa felt ashamed and filthy when the goddess Athena took the form of her statue and furiously blamed the priestess. Athena said that if it had not been for her flamboyant presence, which diverted men from the path of virtue and purity, and for her vanity, which made her irresistible, none of that would have happened. Her temple would have remained immaculate, and her honor as a goddess would not have been diminished. Athena decided to punish the priestess, who was now impure and guilty for the dishonoring of the temple she was to care for. The night arrived, and Iphicles regained consciousness after the strong blow he suffered. He then began to search for Medusa. He heard her cry in the temple of Athena. Arriving there, he encountered Medusa sitting on the ground, crying in pitch-black darkness. She asked him not to come near, because she did not want to be seen like that. Concerned, her friend nevertheless approached, offering words of comfort. But when he touched the young woman's shoulder, a serpent bit his hand. Medusa frighteningly turned, and the two youngsters looked at each other. The young Iphicles became a stone-made statue. In despair, Medusa wept, embracing the statue of her best friend. Not to hurt anyone else, she ran away. But during her escape, she was sighted by some residents of the city. Those who looked into her eyes became petrified. People told each other about that horrible snake-haired creature. A group was assembled to hunt the creature. These men were found days later, completely petrified and with terrified semblances. Medusa had no intention of hurting anyone. She simply wanted to defend herself from unfair aggression. she decided to hide in a region that had been abandoned by its inhabitants for centuries. There, she found an ancient temple in ruins, which she turned into her hiding spot. Many warriors attempted to capture the Gorgon for glory, but none ever returned. Isolated, Medusa kept losing her remaining humanity. Her reputation as a terrible monster became legendary. Medusa survived by hunting small animals and rodents. One of her prey led to an unexpected reunion. Medusa encountered an ancient bust, which represented the goddess Athena. She realized that those ruins had once been one of the first temples to give shelter to the goddess. This discovery revived her ancient habits. Medusa started to care for the temple and to exalt the glory of the goddess, the dilettante daughter of Zeus, the supreme god of Olympus. Albeit living a miserable existence, the young woman still showed her nobility. In her heavenly residence, the goddess did not fail to notice the honorable acts of her former priestess. She realized that her actions could not be justified by vanity, since no one could witness those acts. And she felt sorry for having enforced such a cruel and irreversible punishment on the girl. While conducting one of her many rituals, Medusa heard the steps of another invader. Medusa's bestiality re-emerged, and she prepared to face another opponent. The daring warrior walked cautiously in the creature's abode, while she prepared the ambush. Sneaking close to the warrior, she was stunned when noticing that he was carrying Athena's shield, the sacred aegis that had once belonged to Zeus. Athena's shield was so polished that it reflected like a mirror, and using the reflection, the warrior realized that the monster was behind him. With a sharp blow, the young warrior severed Medusa's head from her body. Medusa was dead, and her blood kept dripping to the ground. The warrior, anonymous until that point, would go down in history under the name of Perseus. After completing his labors, Perseus returned to Athena her aegis and also gave her Medusa's head. What few knew was that Medusa carried Poseidon's divine seed, and from her blood, Chrysaor was born, the warrior of the golden sword. Not only that, another beautiful creature, a winged horse, also emerged. The majestic Pegasus was the purest of all creatures, embodying all the original purity that had been stolen from his mother. Many believed that the help Athena provided to Perseus, when she handed him her precious shield, was another act of retaliation against Medusa. Actually, she only wished to free the young girl from that dreadful existence, which had been unjustly imposed upon her. Athena glorified Medusa by adding the Gorgon's head to her shield. The image of the loyal priestess was now eternalized beside the goddess she loved so much.